Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you may be in the world. Welcome to Gift of Healing TV. I'm Sara Jane, and I am delighted for this program to be joined by Dianna Leeder. Dianna, thank you so much for joining us today and for sharing with us.
Sara, thank you so much for having me. I'm honored.
It's a pleasure. Now, the topic of our program is Crave More Life. But before we go into that, I'm going to do a further introduction of Dianna, and then we'll see where the conversation leads us. Dianna Leeder, CPCC, is an award-winning author, podcaster, coach, mentor, and owner of Crave More Life. She is an intuitive life and confidence coach and an expert at helping you find and confidently use your voice. Her own path of becoming unsilenced is the journey through which she trains and certifies Find Your Voice healers. She holds the path of consciously aligning with oneself to heal and live our purpose as sacred, honorable, and necessary. Dianna starts with the simple message, look inside. Through her Find Your Voice Healer Certification training and the Find Your Voice Save Your Life book series, Dianna offers a platform for healing and living out loud, personally and professionally. All great stuff. Finding your voice, absolutely so important. Dianna, share a little of your story and how you come to do what you do.
Okay, thank you so much, Sara. I appreciate that. So about 12 years ago, I recognized that I had lost my own voice. And it wasn't something that I just kind of came upon, as one might hope that we do. We just suddenly realize what's happening for ourselves and decide we're going to make changes. It wasn't like that at all. It was way messier than that. My husband decided that he wasn't happy. And I thought we were good. I thought everything was good. I thought, we were happy. We were having a good time. Everything was peachy. But no. So it was actually that experience that had me go and do the work that I needed to do. That was my motivator, was actually because I was sitting in the fear of what do I do? What do I do? I thought we'd been married for many, many, many years. We just celebrated 41 years together. So it was very scary for me to think that I was, I could potentially be in this life on my own. And I realized in the work that I was doing that the reason that I was so fearful about that was that I didn't use my own voice. I wasn't speaking for myself. I didn't recognize all the parts of me and bring them out into the open and honor them. So I wasn't speaking for myself. I wasn't, when I talk about voice, just for the future reference of the rest of the show, I'm talking about expressing ourselves. That's one way to express ourselves, but there are many others. So, I don't want us to get really, really narrow about actually speaking all the time. There are many other ways, but that was a piece that I recognized was lacking for me, was hidden. It was, it was way down. So I had to do my own inner work to understand who I was, what was blocking me from being who I was, and begin to take those steps to be able to heal myself and to be able to move forward. So, and that, the sweet story at the end of that piece, at the end of that is simply that, that I did that. While I was doing that, my husband went and, he did his own thing, and it allowed us to come back together in that, in that concept of, 1 + 1 = 3. So two whole people come together, and that third entity is actually the relationship. So it led us to find things in a very different way. And it was incredible, actually incredible. So yeah, that's kind of my quick story.
No, thank you for sharing. And finding our voice is important. Sort of, I think a lot of us who have done an awful lot of work, but the work doesn't have to be difficult or hard, does it? It can be time consuming, but being supported by people like yourself can really, I suppose, for want of a better way, providing we're prepared to be involved in the process, it can speed it up. It doesn't have to take the years it's taken us.
That's true. It certainly can be much faster than what I experienced. Absolutely. I think where we run into issues generally, and I'll speak for women because that's the majority of my client group. Generally, like we're often not brought up to be independent. We're brought up to be the caretaker, and we are natural nurturers, and we should be very proud of that. And that's usually something that's very, very deep inside us, and if we honor that in a healthy way, it can be awesome. So when we are in that position where we are helping as much as we are, we can get lost in that. We can get lost so easily. And we can start to rely on that because, think about it in a codependent kind of way, oh, look at that. Somebody needs me. Oh, I feel good because somebody needs me, and I don't mean that in a nicky way. But that's kind of what we're left with. I always wonder when someone comes to see me and I can, intuitively, I can sense what's happening. And it's often, it comes with a little picture in my mind, where there are these people around her who are pulling from her, and there's nothing that she chooses just for herself. So, you can't be a natural nurturer and do it in a healthy way without having a life of your own. Make choices for yourself, make decisions for yourself from a healed place. So yeah, I think that there are some, it doesn't have to take forever, but we have to take that leap. We have to be responsible for ourselves. We have to do that radical responsibility thing where we say, no, I need to honor me. I need to care for me, whatever that looks like, because it will be different for all of us. And when we do that, that's kind of the first step to recognizing that there is something to be responsible for.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I was thinking about it, and I've said this before. If somebody asks you, who are the most important people in your life, where do you put yourself on that list?
Nice.
And you probably don't.
Yeah.
That's one thing. And it's just like, for many women, when you introduce yourself, if you're with your husband, is it, I'm so-and-so's wife, before you say your name?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it, I am? Actually, so-and-so's my husband. It's the I am, isn't it? Oh, hello, I'm so-and-so's mother. So the child's mother. It's never I am and my name.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, but yeah, you say obviously most of your clients are women, but men almost have an element of, it's very different from them because obviously their upbringing has been about, they're meant to be the breadwinner, they're meant to be able to support their family. Yet they may want to actually do some of the things that the wife does. Mm-hmm. As much as the wife, actually, if she finds her voice, may like to do some of the things that the husband does. And until we learn to speak to each other and talk to each other and listen to each other, as you found, it doesn't have to mean the end of a relationship. For me, it did, but it doesn't have to mean it for everybody. And I love to hear when it doesn't mean the end of a relationship.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
it's about how important you are to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. There are so many ways that we silence ourselves or keep ourselves quiet, and both for men and women. So, and you know this, Sarah, but the 4 books that are in my book series, the last one is men. So they're all collaborative books, and the last one is chapters written by men. And you know, one of the biggest things with that, and whether it's men or women, it's about what we perceive that we need to respond to or react to. I always say that we are, you know, when we're born, we're using our voice. We're screaming pretty loud. You know, we're hungry. We want food. You know, we want comfort. Whatever it is, we, you know, that's us when we're born. But it doesn't take very long for us to lose that. In fact, I think I read a stat the other day that said something about by the age of 8, you know, what we have learned in our environment is what stays with us, unless we obviously actively change it through our own awareness. So when we do that, we're, you know, I mean, we have influences that are ancestral. We have influences from our family. You know, we have traumas that influence us as well, and they all affect us in different ways, but they all affect our choices and our behaviors. Oh, I can't do that. That's too scary. Or, oh, I can't do that because that's not what women do. Or I can't do that because that's not what men do. You know, so I think it all boils down to exactly, you know, what you're saying is, you know, being ourselves, shedding all the extra, and being able to speak exactly for who we are authentically, what we need, what we want, and what we desire. And I don't mean that necessarily, not to exclude it, but not necessarily entirely about possessions. You know, it's not really about, you know, ooh, I really want a new car. It is, although if you want a new car, then you make it happen. But it is about who we are in the depths of ourselves. So our values are really huge there, of course, but so is our soul.
Yeah.
You know, when our soul often wants something that our ego does not. You know, so when we decide that we're going to function from what our head tells us, it's usually wrong. You know, if we do this, we hold our hearts and we start to ponder from there, then rarely is that wrong, if at all. It's never steered me in the wrong direction, that's for sure.
Yeah, no, I've got it's a little bit like an affirmation that I sort of say every day. And because I do it so automatically, I'm going to forget it. It's something along the lines of thank you for the love in my heart, and a mind and an ego that works with my heart, supporting my heart choices, my gut instincts, and inspiration. Yeah. And our mind and our ego, whatever you want to monkey mind, whatever you want to sort of call it, the way I view it is that its first role was to protect you. Mm-hmm. The problem is nobody's gone and changed its role for it.
And the protection has, you know, the things that we need protecting from have changed. You know, we're not fighting off wild boars anymore. You know, so yeah, that's you're right. Things have changed, and we don't need to simply rely on our ego or our mind anymore.
But it's really, yeah, there is that saying, isn't there? Follow your heart, but don't forget to take your mind with you. Because the way I view that is sort of, okay, sort of, and I still have to have a go at it at times and say, excuse me, changed roles. This is not all about stopping me from doing things. This is about supporting me so that I can do things and live my life safely, but fully. And it's that craving more life, isn't it? And it's very much a matter of, sort of, I have choices. And you think about, somebody mentioned something and you think, I'd love to do that. But almost before that, you finished saying that, the mind's jumped in with reasons why you can't do it. Yeah. And it's silencing that. I suppose I put it like, the mind has been like the accountant of your life, because they're very good within businesses of stopping businesses from doing things. No, you can't do that. It's spending too much money. Yes. Yeah. But the personal assistant to your heart becomes the supporter of helping make your heart choices happen. So you're going from a very protective role, and don't get me wrong, the PA will protect their boss. You're going from a very protective role to a role that's much more fun, because it's helping make that life happen.
Yes. 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 I love that. I do. I love that. I think that's really important, to be able to combine the elements, that are really actually helpful and supportive. And I think we find, when you introduced me, you talked about, my comment about, look inside. So I actually have a tattoo on my arm that says it, to remind me to look inside, because I think that even some of the things, and not that I would ever exclude the ego, but there are things that we know inside of us, that we know that we can be helped out with from our heads. It's like, so for example, a lot of women who come to me are angry, and I need to say such and such to so-and-so, and I just need some help doing that. And I'm tired of this, and, that kind of thing. And when they spend some time really sinking into themselves, then they start to understand, first of all, why they're angry, but what are the elements there that are of the utmost importance to us, in terms of how we manage ourselves, how we speak for ourselves, and what we say and how we say it. The other thing that I hear all the time is, oh, I could never say that to that person. Oh, no, I couldn't do that. Well, you know what? If something is feeling harsh, go back inside, because we're not bitchy inside. We're not crabby. We're not mean. We're not hurtful. Our true selves are never those negative things. So if we need some backup from our heads to remind us, or our ego to remind us that structure is okay, then we can reflect on that too. Okay, so what kind of structure do I need? Do I really need in this particular situation?
A thought, sort of, and this is very much from my own life, and it took me years to understand this. And I don't put all blame on my second husband. I do not. But it was the understanding that he watched how his father was with his mother. Mm-hmm. And before we got married, he didn't behave like that. But once I became his wife, and I promise I am out of judgment of all of this. It's just being aware of what I witnessed. Mm-hmm. And his father was an extremely intelligent man. Learning languages, he'd retrained to become a teacher from being a salesman. And his mother, bless her, she actually saw him through all of that, and having the 3 boys, by going and cleaning people's houses and doing people's ironing. And so what I remember witnessing was that he rarely spoke to her. From what I witnessed. Now, obviously, my ex will have witnessed a lot more of that. A mother that had to put the food on the table, have it ready, etc., that her husband rarely spoke to. And so we got to that stage where I'd get home, he was already home, he was sitting watching soaps on the telly, and I'd have to cook the meal, and I was getting home after him. And then he would just sit and watch the telly and totally ignore me. And if I, oh, how's your day gone, whatever, and 10 minutes later, it could be, oh, did you say something? Now, that is obviously very destroying. I don't think he had any idea what he was doing.
Right.
None whatsoever, because it was a learned behavior. So I suppose the reason for sharing this is that if somebody is getting upset, wound up, cross, angry about something that is happening, can we look at potentially what they grew up with? Now, this has taken this, I was well out of the marriage by then. In fact, we were actually divorced by then, and it was something over only in the last few years. And that's well over 25 years ago now that all finished. So I think it's a matter of, if we can, and it's a matter of looking with our heart, but also looking with our head, isn't it? And it's becoming to an understanding that, okay, so then maybe it's not about getting cross and angry. It's, can we sit and have a conversation? Because maybe if I'd understood then what I understand now, because of all the work I've done on myself,
might be different.
Actually, there would be the chance to potentially save relationships if they are meant to be saved.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. I don't think that any relationship can be without those kinds of conscious conversations. You need to be able to say what you have to say. And it doesn't have to be a battle. It can simply be, do you want to be here? Do you want to be here? Depending on the circumstances, of course, do you want to work on this? Do you want to work on this? To be able to bring two people together who are in agreement about what they want, that third element, right? That relationship, what they want it to look like. And not everybody can do that, right? So, Sara, your story is a perfect example. Not everyone is ready to do that. And who knows whether or not, your relationship was predetermined, or I don't know, but, because some relationships are not meant to work, and they don't, and you can work at it forever and have lots of conversations. And I think the lights just went up kind of, and it's just not, it's not in the cards. So it doesn't work. But at the very least, we have to have those conversations. Absolutely. And bringing in things like, and I, you said this several times, the witnessing, that's vital. You can't just kind of say to somebody, look at what you're doing. I don't like what you're doing. That's not helpful. But to be able to, in a relationship where you have, kind of set the boundaries for one another, for yourself within the relationship, but then you're doing it for one another, then you can say, this is what I'm seeing. This is, this is what I'm seeing. No judgment, but this is what I'm seeing. And maybe it's going to, if someone is free enough to open up about themselves, chances are they're going to talk about their past. Chances are they are, I think, in fact, I've met many women whose husbands have, over the years been the breadwinner, and just, got it done, brought home the paycheck. And maybe they had a relatively happy existence while that was happening. But then suddenly stuff comes back, so because when we're feeling that for ourselves, that's coming out in our behavior. That's coming out in the language that we use. That's coming up in how we treat people around us. So to be able to have those conversations, have that agreement in place, which is kind of the first thing to do, and to be able to have those conversations, I think, is absolutely vital. And if things come up that, as a couple, you can't handle, reach out. There are so many people that will help you. Absolutely. Especially if it's really deep, ancestral clearing, perhaps, or family of origin. What you learned from your dad. What did you learn from your mom? I know what I learned from mine. Some of it was good. Most of it was good. Some of it I probably would have liked to have been a little bit different. And my partner has, he has stuff that he carries from his family. We all do. That's just the way it is. So yeah, to be able to talk about that, I think is really huge.
And it's important for us it's not a matter of revisiting childhood events and potential trauma or whatever. It's not about revisiting it. It's about being aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's about not living there anymore, but did it knock your confidence?
Mm-hmm.
Was that part of the reason that you felt silenced? And it's that, as you said, go inside, because it's all there inside of us. And it is about giving ourselves permission to say, okay, this is a behavior I've learned that I don't like. I'm going to let go of it. Mm-hmm. This is something, so people kept telling me this about myself, but actually I don't actually believe that's true. Mm-hmm. And letting go of other people's judgment of you and trying not to be in judgment of other people. Mm-hmm. When that light bulb came on about what had been going on and about understanding it, but it was way too late. I was not in a position back then, as far as I was concerned. He no longer wanted to be in the marriage, and right. Therefore I really didn't.
Right.
When I broke it up, his reaction was, well, I've got everything in my life I ever wanted, and that includes you. The problem mm-hmm. is I am not a possession. I'm a human being, an individual, and I have feelings. Mm-hmm. And it had gone on too long. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And can I just jump in here, Sarah? Yeah. So, when we have those kinds of conversations, we don't always start with them with someone else. We really do have to start with those conversations for ourselves first, as you did, as he was. Sounds like he wasn't doing at his end, or maybe he was, but in a different way. We need to look inside ourselves and understand those things. And absolutely, we don't have to revisit trauma. We don't have to, revisit the obvious things that are really hurt, that still hurt. But we can be aware of it, and we can think about, things like, okay, so I feel icky today. I feel grumpy, or I feel a little, feisty or whatever. Where's that coming from? Just something simple like that on your drive to work. Where's that coming from? Okay, well, this happened, and to be able to understand where things kind of go off the rails for each of us is really a big deal, and really does allow us to do a whole lot more healing than what we have been able to do. When we understand that and we know where we're coming off the rails, so to speak, then we know how to get back on, because then we take that circumstance, we take that inside, and we compare it to who we want to be, who we know we really are. So I like to think our higher self is in there, saying, hey, rooting for us, cheering us on, right? So when when she or he is doing that, we compare. Okay, so I'm being really grumpy and I'm not being very nice to people around me. So, when you think about, how would my higher self deal with this? What would she like to be? Or how would she behave in that situation? You get a comparison and that comparison is you. You're comparing your outward behavior, which is just learned behavior, to what you actually know is true to you. And that is that's mind blowing. So, and when you do that, a lot of times, and you will know this for sure, a lot of times people that are in our lives that are not in that place, they fall away. We're not connected anymore. So, and I think that some of that is, that's the predestined stuff. Maybe we were in those relationships to understand ourselves more and to be able to do the healing that we needed. Who knows? We don't know. Lisa, I don't know for anybody else, but yeah. So to go back to that, I think it really is. We start with ourselves. We always start with ourselves.
And that is so important, because it isn't about others. But I came to understand that because of my own insecurities from what happened to me as a child, a very little child, I was creating that self-fulfilling prophecy of relationships don't last. And that's also about coming to understand yourself. I didn't understand that at the time, but as you work with yourself, as I've gone through my healing journey, sort of like that sudden awareness, because something cropped up, something happened, and it was just like, okay. And then just going over things. Why am I feeling like this? When does that go back to? What has it clicked and reawakened within me? And everything was brilliant. Everything was roses. I had a brilliant job that I was really happy in. I had a marriage that I was happy in, and it was my second marriage, so I already had one I created that self-fulfilling prophecy of relationships don't last.
Right.
And then suddenly I got made redundant. And my world started to fall to pieces. And so did a switch go on within me that said, right, that bit's gone, so that will go as well. So, and my mother-in-law apparently said to my mother, she talks to the cats better than she talks to him. It was part of the self-fulfilling prophecy of creating the fact it wouldn't last. And but are we in, I understand that now. I get it now, but I didn't then.
Right.
And what's really important for me is that we are able to forgive ourselves. Is it not part of the journey to support us to find our voice? Oh, I also ended up with a broken jaw that gave me 6 months of pain and sleepless nights, which was sort of some of the catalyst sort of around then the eventual breakup. But I think what you've got to realize is things happen. And it is up to us which route we take.
Yeah.
But it was that jaw breaking that was the resulting in, yes, the end of the marriage, but me starting to find myself.
Right.
And sometimes it does take something not very nice. Anybody, but I wouldn't change anything that happened. I think being aware of our lives, I wasn't aware at the time, but I can see with hindsight, which hopefully opens me up, as I'm sure you can see things with hindsight. We all see things with hindsight. That are we then open that if something else happens in our lives, we can start to react in a different way, so that we react and create the same letters, except for the fact rearrange them. And so it's our reactions that create the outcome.
Mm-hmm.
And it's that, oh, why does this keep happening to me? Because you keep reacting in exactly the same way.
Yes, reactions instead of intentions.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's tough. I think we all do that.
Yeah.
I do. I think that we do. We don't know what we don't know when we don't know it.
Yeah.
And I think I really do believe that the universe offers us little nudges all the time, and the more we ignore them, then the stronger they become. Because I don't think we are meant to be here and be unhappy. We are meant to be happy. We are meant to live a happy life, on this earthly plane. So yeah, listen for the nudges, watch for them, and again, go in and decide what that means for you. I think that's really, really important. And know that some, as you were intimating, sometimes, things are just not meant to, they're not meant to be there for the sake of the relationship or the sake of the job or anything really. They are meant to be there to help us heal. And it's funny because any kind of spiritual work that I've done or training that I've done always comes up to the same place for me. And that is that we're supposed to be happy, but we're supposed to be happy by expressing who we are. And again, it's not just our voice. It's not just the sound that comes out of our mouth. It is being true to ourselves. That's it. That, I mean, people may, argue this point, and they're perfectly welcome to it. But from my perspective, that's all we're asked to do in this world, is to be true to who we are.
Yeah.
So, and in order to be that, we have to know who that is.
Yeah.
And of course, that's the going inside. That's, the rituals, that's the meditation, that's, or journaling, writing. Writing is huge. I've got 4 books up there on the shelf that, each with 20 some odd authors that wrote their story as a way of healing. It's phenomenal. So yes, try writing. It's huge.
But our journey, our healing journey, and my light's flashing. Sorry, folks. Hang on. Our healing journey is important to us all. It really is. And we can. Sorry about that, but it was having our healing journey. And it's been an experience. We're still being an experience.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're never done, are we?
No, I don't think. I think when we're done is when we leave. So
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it is about that empathy, that understanding. I really hope that people have sort of listened to what we've said, and it opens them up to whatever may be going on in their life. Are they actually where they should be on their list of who's important to them? And that's number 1.
Yeah.
Because how do we take care of others if we haven't taken care of ourselves?
Yes.
How can we truly love others if we don't love ourselves? How can we trust others if we don't trust ourselves? And you can say that with so many different words. How can we if we don't for ourselves?
Yes.
And that's really important. We are actually coming towards a close.
We could talk forever.
Oh, I know. Yeah. I love that. But is there anything? Obviously, yes. I will put your website up, and I will make sure that it's under the video if people are watching this on YouTube. So I'll make sure it's there. Whoa, the light's doing it again. But is there anything that we haven't touched on that you would like to share?
You know what? I think I would just like to point out that the certification program that you talked about in my bio,
Yeah, I'm here.
Part of my, yeah, you go ahead. Part of the work that I do, you know, I know that work needs to be shared. I know it. So one of those pieces of work, of course, is to train healers in Find Your Voice certification. So, and I do that because it's a model that I developed over the years from working with. I mean, I've had decades of working with women, and it is applicable for men for sure. So it's, you know, the model is one that gives gives a path to be able to support someone who wants to find their voice and use it more. It's also combined with, it's meant for healers. So it's meant for any kind of healer. If you call yourself a healer, then chances are you're going to appreciate this, because it's meant to integrate with whatever work you are doing at the time. So how you could use your Reiki, you know, infuse that in the model, or infuse the model in the work that you're doing, you know. So I've trained yoga teachers and acupuncturists and, you know, and others. So yeah, I just wanted to point that out, that if you're a healer, you know, feel free to give me a shout. I would love to talk to you about that program. It's yeah, it's my way of sharing. You know, if I can share with you, it's like, isn't there an old commercial that said, if we tell one person, they tell one person, they tell one person? I want the world to know that nobody needs to be silenced.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. My apologies about the lighting, folks. It seems to have gone out, so I've got another little one on, but that's glaring straight in my face. Hey ho!
Like,
we've got the program. That's the most important thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even if I end up in the dark, it doesn't matter. It's more important that people, you know, because thank you so much, Dianna, for sharing with us. And I hope that what you've shared, really, okay, just try and ignore it. Somebody trying to tell me something. I just wish I knew what that meant.
Maybe.
I'm not used to light splashing on me. So thank you so much for sharing. And folks, you know, if what's been talked about here sort of resonates with you, please feel free to connect with Dianna. And it's cravemorelife.com.
Yes.
Yeah. So please do connect with Dianna, because as she said, we're not here to be unhappy. We are here to live fully from our heart, find our voice. And yeah, and I totally get that, because having been somebody that was so insecure, now my thing is, right, every year I try and have a brand new experience, something I haven't done.
I love that.
Yes, and that includes doing things like wing walks and sort of zip wires and
Good for you. That's fun.
And I've walked with wolves, but it's all about living life.
Yeah.
And it's your choice to say, I don't care what you think. This is something that really resonates with me, and I'm going to try.
Yeah, that's right. This is kicking your own booty. That's what it is. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you so very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it very, very much. Honored to have been here, and thank you for allowing me to share.
No, absolute pleasure. It's important that, you know, and I do feel it's important that what you do and what you bring is shared. And one word could have made a difference to somebody's life for listening to this, and that means a lot to me. It really does. It really does. Next week, we have a today's conversation, the importance of reconnecting back to nature, with David Tyrrell. So I hope that you join myself and Patricia and David for that next week. Dianna, thank you. It has been a real pleasure and honor to share this space with you. Take care, folks. Be safe. Stay well. Namaste.
Namaste.